I think the ongoing issues of the temple haven't really changed very much. I mean, one was building, obviously.
Okay.
Another one was always clergy, and not as an issue negatively necessarily, but you know, moving forward, the school was always an issue. What else was an issue?
At this stage, Steve Garten was the rabbi.
Correct.
With a contract. So you're
Yes.
never involved in that.
No, I was not involved in any contractual things, but music was another big one. It was very high priority at that point in time. So school, music, and the building. But I don't know if you recall, when I became president, I think I was the first president that I set specific goals for my presidency.
Okay.
I narrated those goals very clearly to the congregation because I believe in being very transparent, and I said, I've picked A, B, C, D, E, F. I can't do any more. These are my goals for my presidency, and every Rosh Hashanah I would report back on where we were at. You may or may not recall that, but I was very careful. I'd say, as far as item number 1, this is where we're at. As far as item number 2, this is where we're at. And I would always document in my president message every month. I guess I'm fairly goal-oriented.
So the goals, I mean, I'm guessing, were school.
Yes, to see where we would go with the school and what we would do.
Yeah.
Music, we needed to move forward. We were a bigger congregation previously, and we needed to look at change because it was a competitiveness. Obviously, fiscal responsibility was another important one for me. And then the other one, obviously, there was a lot of pressure during my presidency as regards the sale or otherwise of the building. And my position was that we had to do something that was inclusive in our decision making, and that we had to do something that was fiscally responsible. And I always stuck to that throughout. We had services at the Unitarian Church. And I didn't realize until later, but the board had been made an offer to somehow share that facility. And it is a huge property because now the Unitarian Church has built a seniors residence there.
Yeah.
Kind of a long-term care facility.
This is the one with the tall spire out on the west end.
And we had some wonderful services there because it is a beautiful spot. And I was reminded of it when I was in Boston and Newton. There's a temple there that has an array of windows and a small forest behind it. It's the same kind of look, you know, and just a very wonderful spot. The board declined the offer to somehow share the facility, but in hindsight, I wonder if it wouldn't have been.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as you remember, it was a question of wanting our own facility.
That's right.
Our own space, our own school space, that sort of stuff.
That's right.
Just before I became president, the temple got, Mort was still president, but it was sort of the last 6 months, the temple got a donation of, was it $25,000 from a man named William Cantor, K-A-N-T-O-R. Nobody knew who he was, by the way. Heather Cohen calls me up, because I was the first vice president, and I was, as I'll mention, Mort was really good at other stuff, and then a lot of stuff fell to me. So I felt it was sort of a shared presidency towards the end.
Which is a good
Which
training.
was, I think, okay. You know, we sort of divvied up things, and so this came to me, the House, you know, committee things. So Heather called me up and said, we got this donation, not inheritance, what's the word? Well, anyway, the fellow passed away and left money. Left
the
money
estate.
and it's from the estate of a man named William Cantor, whom we don't know. He's not a member. He's a member of the Ottawa community, but not a member of Temple Israel. And it has no strings attached. But somebody suggested it go towards the building, and I'm calling you to help figure it out. So Mort and I talked, of course, and other people. And so the first thing I did, just as I was becoming president, before I became president, but just around that time, was to do some renovation of the building. And I used an architectural technologist, his true title was, that I was working with at the university, because I did the same work at the university. I was in charge of renovations at the library at the university. So I had a name, and I worked with him very well, and we did some renovations of the building. So probably it worked out well because, as I told you a few minutes ago, my first impression was the temple building was
Stark.
nothing to write home about. Or else you write home about it and you don't say very nice things.
Yes.
So I worked with this guy named Tom Novosedlik, who has since left Ottawa. And we spent the money. I mean, that was a challenge right then and there. Can you coordinate this? How should we spend it? Who's involved? What do we do? And we did, and you would remember, I think, because you were members at that time, but it had been those cedar block walls, cinder block walls.
Yes.
What are they called? Concrete block walls.
Yeah.
And they got covered up with
Yes.
drywall, and
Yes.
we did some fussing with the drywall and the way that it was sort of graduated so that it would emphasize the menorah, stained windows, and we did some reworking of the wood on the bima, got the arc doors refreshed by Sonia Pearl. You know, things like,
It's a beautiful.
if you were in it, in the inside, you knew all the work that went into it. People
Yes.
walking in would say, oh, well, they got new paint or something. But, you
Yes.
know, I can still walk in there and remember the
Yes.
decisions that we made to do certain things with the wood, where the stairs were, where the railing goes, where we hang up the confirmation rings. I think they've been
Yes.
taken down some time ago. But are they still up?
Yeah,
Anyway,
they're on
things
here.
like that I knew it very intimately.
Yes.
Very intimately. Every part of the building that we were able to refresh and use the money for.
Yes.
So that was a big challenge.
Oh, yes.
I was the first vice president, and I thought, okay, my time is up, and I've done my several years on the board, at which point the president came to me and said, I'm going to retire early, and as first vice president, you're going to be taking over, right? And I thought about it, and I said, well, yeah, okay. So I actually had 3 years as president. First year was the second half of my predecessor's term, and then 2 years on my own term. And this was a time when we were hoping that we could find a bigger, better place for a new temple building, or to take over an existing building. And as with most major events at Temple, there were people pro, people con, and it took all of my experience and knowledge in how to deal with crises to get through those 3 years. It was an interesting experience, and I'm glad I was able to serve Temple in that capacity, and took it a lot easier as past president and back on the board again as just a member. So this is a wonderful place to be, and I certainly recommend it to anybody who's looking for a sense of community, a sense of religious purpose, and that's about all I have for right now.